In the end, it took one of his own teammates, Bobby Rafferty, to finally topple Brandon Proudfoot's run. An incredible 5 straight victories gives him an almost insurmountable points lead. But don't think that will mean he'll be resting on his laurels. Indeed, Fairbury is a notoriously difficult track to master. Let's see if someone else can claim a win as we get ready to watch round 7 of the Bootleg Racing League's Dirt Street Stock Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Fairbury is a track whose popularity is so great that when iRacing held a vote, it won over 4 other major venues to be the first in line to get produced. Let's head to our track guide to see what draws the fans so easily.
Welcome to Fairbury Speedway, a 3-time UMP Dirt Car Track of the Year, and home of the Prairie Dirt Classic, one of the premier summer events in the upper Midwest featuring the World of Outlaws late models. Racing here dates back to horse racing in the late 1800s. As time evolved, a different kind of horsepower took over, and at one point, wood was even the surface here, as in 1917, World War I Medal of Honor recipient Eddie Rickenbacker attempted to break a world speed record on a motorcycle. Racing continued on through the 20s, but the Great Depression and then World War II put a damper on the motors. The 40s were a boon though, with names like Bettenhausen took their midgets around the newly carved out 1/5 mile oval. Stock cars joined the fray, and before you knew it, had taken over prominence in an otherwise open-wheel dominated part of the country. After several evolutions and modernizations, Fairbury Speedway has become its quarter-mile self, hosting weekly late model, modifieds, and street stock races. The stock car fendered variety of racing really dominates the weekly program here in north central Illinois. But you open wheel fans, don't fret. Many regional series make stops here as well, so on any given weekend you are bound to find sprint cars, both the winged and non-winged variety, and midgets, making runs around Fairbury in addition to the home track contingent. Even the big boys, the World of Outlaws sprint cars, come here. Basically, if we have the dirt car on iRacing, it runs right here at Fairbury Speedway.
Well, it might be popular, but it's going to be compact too. I mean, I'm looking at the stats here, and DJ, a quarter mile with these huge bulking machines. This is going to be interesting.
It is going to be very interesting, and it is going to be very, very compact and tight racing. Looking at this track from the aerial, it does bear a resemblance to Kokomo, but the high banking here up to 16 degrees really, really makes it its own special beast. Now, in these heavy street stocks, I think the fastest way around here is going to be running them high to mid to high lines around here, carrying that momentum around the top side. Now, you can get adventurous, try to dive down on the low side, but be wary of the big tractor tires that are there. The other thing that makes this track so special when it comes to racing in cars like this is you see sort of a secondary cushion start to develop in the middle of the track. Guys that want to go low start to push that dirt up, and guys that go high push that dirt down into the middle. And so you get this middle area of turned up dirt that creates an especially large challenge for these drivers.
Certainly will be a unique one, but let's take a look at the championship and the challenge that everybody else is up against. Look at that. Even back to second place, J.R. Shepard, 78 points difference up to Brandon Proudfoot. They're going to have to hope for major issues in the remainder of the season to really try and catch back up to him. In fact, Chris Davis is probably got the best chance to try and make some sort of race out of it here, challenging J.R. Shepard. Steven Spees, a little ways back, is also being trailed by Billy Northcutt, who sits in 5th today. What about today's race details? What have our viewers in store for?
Well, as you can see, we are working on the 7th of 11 rounds. So if J.R. Shepard wants to sort of make any headway, he has got to get the move on Brandon Proudfoot here. As we mentioned, we are racing in the dirt street stocks here on the iRacing service in a heat race format. So what will happen is drivers have about a 20-minute open practice session. Then they will go to single lap qualifying. That will set the field for our heat races. In those heat races, the top 3 will advance directly to the A main. Everybody else will go out and run the B main, the consolation race. Now, to get into the A main, that will be capped at 24 cars. It looks like we have 20 entries right now, so all drivers should make the big show in that 40-lap heat race. And the other thing to keep in mind, Joe, is we are running fixed setups here tonight, so everybody driving the same car.
Indeed, as we watch the warm-up here, it's the dying stages of that 20 minutes that we heard DJ talking about. And up at the top of it, no surprises, Brandon Proudfoot currently the quickest. Billy Northcutt is quite close, though. It's less than a tenth of a second between them. And then the last of those that is actually still on track, at least of our front runners, is Chris Davis, who sits in third. But we're watching from Robbie Robinson's perspective. As the Illinois driver, I believe you could consider this his home track, to be honest, here at Fairbury. So we'll see if he fares well this week.
And you can see there as we ride on board, Robbie taking that higher line. You can see it's already starting to rubber in up on the top, but you can also see that sort of secondary cushion that I mentioned right below him to the left of the car. So those are two things to keep in mind. And as this race goes along, Joe, that cushion to the outside, that's going to continue to push up the track more and more, inching its way up. And I think by the end of this feature race, you're going to have guys right up next to that wall.
I don't know about these guys and their skill, but I know with me, I kept getting clipped on that outside wall, trying to go right up to the edge there. As we watch from Todd Liston's perspective now, riding on the helmet cam. 87, currently 15th in the warm-up. There's a good example. Just grabbed him, as you can see. Thankfully, that's the only little tip he has with the concrete, and is able to keep it from slamming the front stretch.
And now as he takes it on the backstretch, one thing to keep in mind, you just saw it flash by on the right side of your screen. There is a little gap in the outside retaining wall that if your car gets a little bit sideways as you're trying to plant the car, do the Scandinavian flick, as you call it, into the corner, if you let that run a little bit too wide, your right rear can catch that attenuator. And I've seen a couple of guys get caught out by that.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to keep it clear, because that'll probably be the only thing that can do some significant damage other than maybe getting hit by another car plowing through. The speeds don't exactly get too high here, as you're only going to see a max of about 75 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway. And through the corners, they're consistently doing about 45, more like what you'd see on the roads than what you'd see at super speedways. Davis here on screen in the number 7. Trying that low line himself, which you can already see is quite slicked up on the bottom.
Yeah, Joe, really the whole track is getting incredibly slick. There is still that narrow strip of moist dirt down to the very inside. You can see it there as we ride on board with Davis. We've seen guys like Brandon Proudfoot be able to go run that at certain points. Also, we've heard Steven Spies talk about how he really likes to run those sort of low-line tracks. So it'll be interesting to see as the night goes along if anybody's going to be brave enough to go flirt with the tires and try to get down there.
Also, we'll note that I was just curious, it had been so long since I'd done any of the laps here. I hopped out in the street stock. There's actually a bump to the inside on the exit of 3 that drivers can get. Now, these are such heavy cars, I don't think it should be as much of a problem. I did see a few of the midgets actually get air that we watched race not too long before this event.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe, that I don't think it's going to send necessarily anybody spinning around, but the one thing that it will do is if you're locked in a close battle as you go through that bump on the exit of 3, it may just force you to reset the car ever so slightly. We could see a little bit of bumping and rubbing as drivers try to compensate for that bump.
All right, warm-up wraps up, and then we get a qualifying session. 4 laps to try and set your best time, and then that will determine where they line up in our heat races. But there are points still on the line for this qualifying session. Qualifying heats, the B main and the feature all give you valuable championship points, so there is impetus for our drivers to always be on it. As it looks like Davis, Morton, those are 2 of our drivers going to be the first to work their way out onto the track.
There you see Chris taking the high line to start things off here. It's a good move. He may decide to go down a little bit lower later, but at least maximize momentum as he gets these laps wound up and starts to try to go.
All right, his first flyer. Let's see what Chris can do here. Again, they all get an equal track. This is solo qualifying, so no one really has any sort of advantage going before the other. And the number 7 is going to put in a 15.6 to set the marker down, but he's immediately beat by Brennan Myers and Ryan Seneker. Davis is experimenting already. I saw him take a different line as we watch Austin Belke as well put it in the 6th.
And there you see Chris doing better to improve his time a little bit. That'll bump him up to 3rd. Robbie Robinson currently holding the top of the charts. Belke's going to come across the line with a 15.781. That's going to be unable to improve from his position right now. Segala puts in with a 15.3. Good lap for Joe there. That's 3rd.
All right, so Gary Clinton, as he continues around, makes up 1 spot with his 3rd lap, but he's going to abandon after that. Not happy with how that last one was going. Hetherington, still our fastest qualifier so far. Where is our championship leader, actually? Proudfoot is yet to set foot on track, and he does not have a penalty, so he's just biding his time, waiting to see how everybody else fares.
And Joe, you can see it there on the left of that GSRC tower. You want to talk about how short this track is. 2nd and 3rd, it is down to the 100th of a 1,000th. They are tied when you round it down to the 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, that's Segala, who nearly pipped Hetherington. And iRacing does measure it below those 3 digits, so it is separated, but we just unfortunately can't see it with the limitations of our timing and scoring. Steven Spies, his 3rd lap, not going to be quicker. Still his first one is the one that has put him into 6th. See Todd Liston coming around, and Brandon Proudfoot now starting his first flyer.
And there, Billy Northcutt able to improve by a couple hundredths of a second. That's not going to jump him up anywhere, unfortunately, but he will still be happy with a 5th place position. When we watch him here, he is one of the few drivers taking a little bit of a low line, almost of a slider coming through that corner, just trying to find some grip. And to nobody's surprise, there goes Brandon Proudfoot.
Very first lap, and he's 2/10 quicker than Hetherington. How do you find 2/10 at a quarter miler?
I have no idea, but I have stopped questioning Brandon Proudfoot a long time ago. The man is just a wizard when it comes to dirt.
Well, he doesn't improve on his 2nd time around. In fact, he's almost half a second slower. But he can afford to try and experiment, I think, as it doesn't look like anybody else is able to try and beat him in this qualifying session. Most of the drivers left are well down the order. 15.3 on his 3rd go. What's the 4th one going to be? Is he able to break that 15-second mark? No, he was just shy of his best time. And that indeed is our last qualifier. So we'll wait for the last minute and some change to finish up out here, and then we'll get our first heat race going today. It's a decently cool track out there, at least 72 Fahrenheit on the track surface, DJ, but it looks like with such a short track, the drivers have quickly rubbered this thing in.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That 61% humidity is going to be good about keeping some moisture in at certain points. But Joe and you and I were talking about this before the broadcast came in. Watching practice, it looked like drivers were already aware of how slick this track was going to go. They'd run a couple of laps up on the high line and then run everything else, just trying to preserve that line as much as possible. So I think track wear is going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, story tonight.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that as we just have essentially Billy Northcutt out practicing at this point. He's already completed all 4 of his laps, and he's just having some fun out there trying to get whatever practice in he can in these last few moments. 20 drivers here today, so we'll see all of them make it into the feature. No one will be excluded, but they do have to try and get the best starting position possible, because we'll have to see what passing looks like today with the way that this track is so flat towards the bottom. Here we see the qualifying session wrap up, and that brings us to our first heat of the day. So on the pole, it's going to be Brandon Proudfoot with J.R. Shepard, his championship rival, starting next to him in second. Brennan Myers rounds out the first half of the field in third.
Austin Belke will line up in fourth, with Bobby Hayes rounding out the back of the field in fifth.
Small little heats here, and only the top three will advance to the feature automatically. Everybody else gets sent off to the consolation race to see if they can get a slightly better starting position in the feature at the end. Looks like we got all five on the grid, so the base truck peels away. They'll get 2 pace laps, and then they'll be released for 6 laps of competition.
And Joe, I think this is going to be a very, very competitive race all up and down the field. You know, Proudfoot obviously had about 2 tenths and change on everybody else, but if you look at those qualifying times, 2nd through 11th were separated by less than a tenth of a second. So there is some very, very close running to be had tonight.
That is going to be fantastic. Yeah, when we get to the consolation and to the feature, we have all those drivers who are close on pace together racing. Brandon Proudfoot now has control of the field. The 22 waits for it. And he cuts down low, and the green flag waves. Good start over J.R. Shepard. He's going to take to the low line as Shepard goes to the middle line. He'll manage to come out ahead of Brennan Myers, who sits in third in the final transfer spot.
And there you see Myers coming back to the inside, trying to fight back on J.R. Shepard, but Shepard able to hold him off. Shepard now taking that midline. It looks like that Proudfoot's the only one really able to make that low line work, but having a little bit more success through 1 and 2 than he is through 3 and 4, as Shepard's able to catch up ever so slightly down the main straight.
We saw something very similar with him at Kokomo, which you compared this place to. So Proudfoot taking those lessons and applying them here. Behind them, Brennan Myers could lose that third spot. He's got a big threat from Belke and Hayes.
He does indeed. Myers stubbornly going down to that low line. You can see it there as Belke runs out high. Hayes trying to find something on the outside. Looks like Myers is doing the best he can to hold him at bay, and it seems to be working. Belke just not able to maximize off of the corner. He's got a lot of good corner in speed, but not really able to get the power down halfway through, but here he comes.
Belke really could deny him on this one. He's going to have one more lap to do it, though, as he tries that middle line. At the front of it, Brandon Proudfoot. Whoa, way better exit there for the 24, so he might really take this one away. But we got to go to Brandon, because he comes around the final corner, and the 22 takes another heat victory. It's going to be J.R. Shepard, who comes across in second, and in third it was Belke, and just barely. So Myers and Hayes are the ones that are going to have to go to the consolation race. That brings us to the next one. Todd Hetherington is going to be on the pole for this one, with John Wilson starting in second and third, belonging to Justin Morton.
Todd Liston will be starting off fourth, and Ron Snyder to bring up the back of the field in fifth.
All right, that was our first time seeing competition out here, other than the practice runs. So what are your thoughts after seeing how the high versus low is working so far?
Well, Joe, I think it's a little bit more competitive than I was anticipating it being. I was really thinking that I was going to be high line or bust here. We saw Belke made that middle line really work, though. He wasn't driving it all the way up to the wall. And then obviously what Brandon Proudfoot was able to do, just sticking it down to that inside tract of moist dirt. This is going to be a competitive race, and it's going to be down to what I think you prefer to drive.
Watching from onboard Morton, looking at Hetherington. He also waits patiently for the green flag. Green flag is out. He doesn't get a great run, though. Up to his high side, that's Wilson trying to see if he can take that one away. Oh, but he gets tipped around. No cautions in this, so he and Liston are going to be sent way back. Our top three are now Snyder, Morton, and Hetherington.
And Justin Morton had a very bad start. Looks like he caught a little bit of berm on the inside, but he has recovered very well running that low line. Oh, there goes Hetherington. Very, very loose. He's able to catch it and get back around, but that's squarely going to hand the lead over to Justin Morton with Ryan Snyder trying to chase him down. Hetherington does recover to hold on to third for the moment.
He also took a piece of the wall down, so he is going to feel that one for the remainder of this race. Morton with an open door after starting on the second row. Looks like he might be able to take a heat win. Again, valuable points for that one if he can keep this clean and keep Ron Snyder behind him.
You read my mind, Joe. Ron Snyder doing a good job of hassling Justin Morton here a little bit. Snyder taking, I'd call that mid to low line there, while Morton is sticking down to those tire tracks. We ride on board with Ron Snyder right now. There you can see struggling a little bit to get the car to turn around the exact way he wants to. Just a little bit of overpower coming in there. He's going to jump down to a lower line here, see if that helps.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's doing anything. So as they take the white flag with one to go in this heat race, Justin Morton keeping it tucked down to the inside almost all the way through. A shallow line is the shorter one, and it's going to give victory to the number 9 as Ron Snyder finishes in second. Hetherington recovers to advance from third. Liston and Wilson are the ones that are going to be sent to our consolation race, and that will now bring us to the third heat of the night. Joe Segala starts at the front of this one. Billy Northcutt will be P2, and then it's Chris Davis starting from third.
And Jason Mendo will be fourth, followed by Chris Hazlip in fifth.
Waiting for that pace truck to lead us away. It's a good opportunity for Segala here. Very good qualifying for him. Was briefly on the front row and then unfortunately got pipped a little bit later. So even still, he will start at the front of his heat race. Can he manage to not fall victim like Hetherington did? Keep it together and try to take a heat victory today.
Well, he's going to have some stiff competition. Billy Northcutt always a danger. Same with Chris Davis. Those second and third cars are going to be very, very quick around here. So I think Joe Segala is going to have his hands full, but it's going to make for a heck of a heat race.
All right, there goes the pace truck. 81 waiting through 3 and 4. Looking for that green flag. It waves, but it's not the greatest of starts. The 81 still challenged around the outside. Billy Northcutt trying to carry his momentum. And way down on the low side, that's Chris Davis, but the momentum does not stay up on the shallow side. Almost 3 wide as they swing it through 3 and 4. Finally, Davis starts to lose out as Menda gets a run on the high side. Challenging for the lead as well. That's Northcutt. Still trying to see if he can peel this away from the 81.
Northcutt trying to do what Chris Davis could not, diving out of the inside. Very late move there for Jason Menda, but that's going to check up Chris Davis in front as Northcutt having the same problems that Davis did, just not able to get the power down off of that inside line. But this is a 3-way dogfight for the lead. Any of these guys could take it.
Oh, and he's going to get into the back. Sort of a mini slide job there from Northcutt. That will net him the lead. And they're down to 3 to go at this point. Another little bit of contact between Segala and Davis. So up to the front, the double aught. Oh, and then we're going to have a change of positions behind them as it looks like Segala once again got doored.
Yeah, Davis just putting his elbows out big time and saying, I want that second position. He is now squarely in a hold of it as he has got a full car ahead of Joe Segala. Segala falling back to third as they take the white flag.
Not the best of runs for Joe. So one more lap to survive, and Billy Northcutt with the advantage. A slip up, and Segala won't even advance at this rate. He has fallen to fourth, but Northcutt takes the win. Chris Davis takes second, and Jason Menda winds up in third. Segala fourth, Hazlett fifth, both of them relegated to the consolation race. What a shocker for Joe Segala. Didn't even make it through into the feature automatically. Let's take a look at our heat race number 4 grid. Robbie Robinson starts on the pole and Steven Spies starts in second. Then it's Jason Best in third.
In fourth is going to be Ryan Seneker, and in fifth will be the number 6 of Gary Clinton.
Very quickly line up. They are already off and running. Now, these last 2 heats, I noticed that in our first one, Proudfoot seemed to really cut down low, try to straight line his start on this race. The other 2 didn't do that, DJ. Do you think that's what's costing them a little bit on the first lap?
I really think it is, Joe, and I think part of the problem that you saw on that last one was that Segala was trying to game the start a little bit, check everybody up, and it didn't really work. Everybody was too caught up and too wise to him, so we'll have to see here if Robinson takes a different approach.
Has he been paying attention? 56 waits for it. Will he try and straighten out this start? It's not looking like it right now. No, he does not. Green flag waves. And once again, because he didn't straighten it out up on the high side, Steven Spies, number 55. Oh, actually looks like he could get an over-under. Going to give a small nudge to Robinson down into 3 and 4. Keep his nose underneath, but he lacks traction.
He does, and that was Spies looking very, very sideways coming off of 4, but doing a great job to apply maximum pressure to Robbie Robinson here. Likewise, Robinson doing a good job of cutting off that inside line from Spies, but they've got to watch out. Ryan Seneker on the outside trying to make a move, but here comes Spies with a little bit more momentum.
And into the tires. Robbie Robinson climbs over it. He gets sent all the way to the back, even gets into the side of Jason Best at one point. That means our new leader is Spies with 3 laps to go. Second place goes to Jason Best, and Seneker gets promoted into the transfer spot.
And Gary Clinton riding around in fourth. He has got about a 4 or 5 car length disadvantage up to Seneker. That gap growing more and more all the time. They're going to take the white flag here.
Second time in a row, one of our pole sitters is not going to advance to the feature automatically. Again, everybody will get through. It's just they're going to have a much worse starting position in the end. Taking the white flag as Steven Spies crosses the start-finish line. Keeps himself a good 10 car lengths away from Jason Best. Once he inherited that top spot, he was not looking back. The 55 takes the win for heat number 4 at Fairbury Speedway. Best in second, Seneker third, last to advance with Clinton and Robinson, unfortunately winding up in the B main after this. All right, here is our starting order for the consolation. Brendan Myers starts on the pole. Todd Liston will start second, and Joe Segala starts third. Then it's Gary Clinton rounding out the top half of this field.
Behind him will be Bobby Hayes, followed by John Wilson in 6th, and then making up the back row will be Chris Hazlett in 7th and Robbie Robinson in 8th.
Waiting for everybody to work their way out to the track now. Again, it's going to be a slightly longer race at 10 laps compared to the 6 that we saw before. And all drivers will advance on to the feature. Here we go on our 2 pace laps. Brendan Myers is the one that is sitting in the best position, starting from the inside of row 1.
And we will have to see what Brennan does. We have seen guys try to game out that start a little bit, like I was saying at the top of that final heat race, try to delay the field, see if he can catch him sleeping. I don't think that is the way to go here, Joe. I think you've got to get on the power early and affirmatively. Okay, what's the 25 got then? For a bunch of hungry cars waiting behind him. He's going to do it a little bit different on this start. To his outside, that is Liston. Also waiting for it. Yep, cutting low. There we go. Brendan Myers has figured it out, and he's going to get a nice jump over the rest of the field. In fact, Joe Segala did too. He is going to be able to get ahead of Todd Liston and into second place in just the first couple corners. It was a great start from Myers there, but Todd Liston absolutely sleeping. Big pile up in the back there. I think that is Wilson, Hazlett, and Robinson all getting together, leaving these cars out on their own.
Yep, no caution. They all just kind of got turned into one another. Look at them fan out, though. Here as our leaders come through 3 and 4, and along the front stretch, it is still the 25 of Brennan Myers up in front. Segala second. A bit of a battle for third. Liston is side by side with Hayes.
He is indeed, and Gary Clinton trying to poke his nose in there ever so slightly, but Liston and Hayes just absolutely running exactly how you kind of expect to see folks run here at Fairbury, side by side without seeing each other at all. That's Liston to the outside, getting real friendly with the wall, and Bobby Hayes down to the inside. It looks like it's advantage Liston.
A little bit of a blink from Brennan Myers in the meantime, though. He's got to hope that internet connection solidifies. Challenging him. Segala's not giving up on it, making sure that 25 has to continually work to try and take max points here in this consolation race. A lot of drivers still working the low line, and I'm not seeing many few that look fast on the high line. This is definitely not what I was expecting.
Nor I, Joe. It really looks like that low line starting in and then running a little bit of a modified slider, letting the car rotate up ever so slightly, push up the track. That's kind of the fastest way around here. That or running just a little bit of a midline. Right now, it's really only Todd Liston that's running on the super high line.
Well, he's holding on to third, so credit to him. He's at least keeping it consistent enough that he's not losing a spot. We're down to 2 laps to go. And already our B main is nearly over. Brennan Myers with a gap of about 3 or 4 car lengths back to the number 81 machine. White flag flies. It's 1 more lap to go. And he might not start on the front row in the feature, but Brennan Myers has got to be pleased with this one. Controlled the race, withstood the pressure, and wins here in the consolation round of the race at Fairbury Speedway at the Bootleg Dirt Street Stock Series. So that's going to take everybody over to a warm-up session now. So we'll have some practice, and then from there, after 5 minutes, we'll have our 40-lap feature race, and cautions will once again be on. So we've already seen a few drivers get tripped over one another. We'll see if that slows things up at all.
I think it certainly could, Joe. You know, that big kerfluffle you saw in the back, we were talking about it a little bit earlier in the broadcast, that you're not going to have any sort of the crazy race-ending moments like we've seen in the past in this series. It's more going to be of just sort of those slow comings together that will happen. So that's what we've got to watch out for when it comes to these cautions later in the race, especially as this track rubbers in even more than it already is, and the lines become smaller and smaller and smaller where you're able to actually run.
We got a lot of cars out there in the practice as well, so this is going to slick things up a whole lot more than we saw even in the consolation race with 8 cars out there, unless a few of them start to park it. J.R. Shepard is our quickest driver in the warm-up for the time being, which is a good sign for him.
It is, but there you saw just out of the corner of your screen there, Brandon Proudfoot just having a little bit of a run in there with some laps, some slower traffic in front of him. It's kind of an explanation as to why Brandon's not running the fastest laps across the board, currently sits in 4th, but leading off tonight in the pole for this feature race, I think the advantage is still going to go to him.
It certainly looked like from the heat race that Proudfoot has control of things yet again, and he might be back to his winning ways. I'm sure he won't be too upset if he winds up with a 6 out of 7 after this week, even though Rafferty snatched it from him last week. Of course, Rafferty not able to attend out here. Watching from Billy Northcutt. See, that's a little bit of the wall there as he tries to explore the limits of this track.
and that'll happen when you're trying to run up on that high line, especially with as slick as it is. And Joe, we've still got about 2.5 more minutes of practice. Oh, big hit there for the number 9 coming through. Excuse me, that's the 0 of Northcutt coming through there. So you can see exactly what happens if you're not careful and you carry a little bit too much speed through these corners.
And still more problems happening on the front stretch with Chris Hazlip and Brendan Myers coming together. Eventually exit the track from that one. We're watching Proudfoot now. Within about 5/1000ths of J.R. Shepherd here in the warm-up. 2 minutes left to go into that. Not many places to hide around this track. If we do get a lot of green flag racing, I kind of wonder if we're going to see a fair bit of lap traffic start to evolve.
I think we certainly can, and we've seen for some of these times it can really, really affect you, even if these drivers are very, very cautious, very careful, making sure that they are out of each other's way. It's still one of those things that your eyes are going to dart up, linger a little bit on the driver in front of you, and you're not going to hit your braking line as best as you think you should, so it can be a major, major problem if you are one of the faster cars.
Now, I'm not against a little bit of bribery for some screen time. Can we get a shot of the back of Bobby Hayes' car? I think he's put on a new paint scheme recently and is clearly trying to pander to the team in the booth a little bit. Yeah, they can't really see DJ as much, but I'm on the left side of the bumper and DJ off to the right side. So please, nobody rear end Bobby Hayes.
I don't know. You can hit the right side, Joe. It may make me look a little bit better.
Yeah, we're trying to get an angle on it. Unfortunately, not quite working here with dirt track racing, turning the car sideways so much. All right, last minute of the warm-up. If you haven't figured out the track yet, well, you're out of time. You're going to have to suss it out in the race itself, which will continually change anyways. That is the name of the game in most dirt racing. Just trying to evolve as the track evolves and not sit still, both metaphorically and literally, since it is a race. The only driver that hasn't put a time in is Austin Belke, and I do see him in the session, so we should have all 20 lined up. And we have no penalties, so don't think he should be forced to start from the back.
I'm not sure what that's about for Austin, but just choosing to sort of sit out a good chunk of this session. Time winding down here. We're ready to go racing in this feature.
That brings us to the starting grid here for round 7. Austin Belke, or excuse me, not Austin Belke, Brandon Proudfoot, but Diamond and Scoring went around on me. Brandon Proudfoot will start on the pole with Justin Morton starting in second. Billy Northcutt starts P3, and then Steven Spees starts 4th. Row 3 has J.R. Shepherd on the inside in 5th, and Ron Snyder in 6th. Then it's Chris Davis starting 7th, and Jason Best in 8th. Austin Belke will be P9, and Todd Hetherington rounds out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th will be Jason Menda. He will be flanked by Ryan Seneker in 12th. Your B-main winner, Brendan Myers, will be starting off in 13th, followed by Joe Segala in 14th. Behind them will be Todd Liston and Bobby Hayes. And then the last 2 rows of tonight's grid will be Gary Clinton and Robbie Robinson, with Chris Hazlip and John Wilson 19th and 20th.
I am corrected. We have 1 end-of-line penalty. That is with Todd Hetherington. He was just given, so everybody will go on by him, but he will be allowed to start the race. He just has a whole lot more work to do from here. Let's now start on our second pace lap. And to the outside of Proudfoot, a very eager Justin Morton testing out the grip on the track into that first corner. So, as they come through, green flag is out. It's a decent start down to his inside. Looks like Billy Northcutt is going to try and see if he can get the low run. And so far, it's keeping them side by side, looking 3 wide as Steven Spees tries to get a nose in there.
Oh, Steven gets checked up a little bit there by Billy Northcutt. There may have been a little bit of contact. Steven carrying a lot of good momentum out of 4. But as they complete this first lap, everybody nice and clean and tidy. A little bit of bumping, a little bit of rubbing, but nobody around sideways.
Proudfoot is absolutely leaving everybody in the dust, and we already got our first caution. Chris Hazlip is sent to the back. Let's see what caused this one. This is the number 73 car that finds himself facing the wrong way briefly.
He's got some damage to the right front of that car, so we're going to watch him here as he lines his way out of the corner, over-rotates, tries to catch it, comes back around, ooh, and just tags up there. That's a little bit of contact with John Wilson, and I believe that was Liston up ahead of him as well that he tagged.
Quite a bit of damage on either side of the car. We're going to watch from Wilson's perspective. Oh, yeah. Suddenly the car was just tipped sideways on him and didn't have much of a place to go. Now, something odd that we noticed is the pace truck takes off very quickly here. It eventually slows up, but our field is already double file, and many of them having to hustle almost at full pace to catch the tail of the field.
It's one of the quirks of the iRacing system that sometimes it does that, but truck dives off here just as the field forms up.
Right, so green flag is out, and Brandon Proudfoot is off. Big slam into the outside wall from Northcutt as he tries to get things going. That may have slowed him down a little bit as he's being attacked on either side. 3 wide through all of the corners. Up on his high side, that Spees. Morton down low. Is anybody able to affect the pass? Not quite. Northcutt is holding off Morton. Not so much. Steven Spees, who's getting a nose ahead here and there.
He is, and it looks like going into 1 and 2 there, Northcutt did a good job trying to cut down on Justin Morton, but Morton loses out big time off of the exit up forward, not able to hold that at all. So now it's going to go back to a 2x2 battle between Spees and Northcutt.
We got a caution. Robbie Robinson, unfortunately, is the one who looks like he may have caused this. He's going to make contact with Seneker. So the 56 down through 3 and 4. Looks like a little bit of a miscommunication. There's the 61. You're going to see him go high, and Robinson and the white and black car go low. Yep. Fortunately, they both vied for the same piece of racetrack, and physics dictates that they can't do that.
Yeah, not so much. I think what happened there is Ryan didn't exactly carry as much speed into the corner as he wanted to, and found himself with a little bit of over grip, let us call it, mid-corner, and that allowed him to take that big chop down line, and I just don't think Robbie was anticipating him doing that. So no harm, no foul. It happens when you're racing like this, but a bit of a tough moment for both of them.
They're going to extend the caution here a little bit. Once again, the pace truck proving a little too fast for our drivers. They weren't all gridded up to the liking of the stewards. All right, pace truck comes back out, at least for half the lap, and then it's right back in. Brandon Proudfoot looking for a little bit more green flag racing than this as we get ready to start on lap 14. Green flag is out. It's a great jump for the 22. Once again, Northcutt finds himself threatened. It's Steven Spees down to the inside. Up on the high side, Morton not as much of a challenge as he was before. Behind them, almost 4 wide in places, and that's going to bring out a caution. This is Hazlip. I think he was on the inside of the track. This was very strange. I think he's going to get tipped around by Seneker, and then he was waiting well off the racing line, but the iRacing stewards decided with the leaders coming back around, that was enough to merit a caution. Yeah, there it is right there. Oh, yeah, okay, he was still on the track as they were coming around, and that's why it got called.
Yeah, he was. The flagman saw that and was ready to jump on that right there and take it into consideration. But Joe, what's really interesting here is if you're watching on these restarts, Proudfoot getting an absolutely spectacular run time and time again. But what happened on that last one is we saw Spees' effectiveness on the outside and Northcutt's effectiveness on the inside. Those roles reversed, and Steven Spees in particular pushing Billy Northcutt up the track through 1 and 2, trying to deprive him of a good angle to launch the car off from. So Spees playing some really good head games. And Justin Morton, watch out. If that yellow hadn't gotten thrown, I think he would have made a pass on the front straight.
All right. I'm sure he's tucking that knowledge away for later. They get ready to accelerate away. Very early start this time from the 22. Not hanging around for anybody. Spees and Northcutt are still hot in battle. Behind them, I can see both Morton and Shepard giving watch. And in fact, it is so tightly packed, all essentially for second place up on the high side. Great momentum off the corner from Northcutt. Before we can get the racing moving, another caution. This time, I think it was the 75.
Yeah, it was John Wilson there. I saw him. Looks like he got a little bit pinched coming through 3 and 4. There he is. That's the purple and white machine in the center of your screen. You can see him here, able to avoid some damage coming out of 2 and then coming in through 3 and 4. You see down on the high side, there's no contact with Gary Clinton up top. Not sure who that is that he got into, but just a little bit of a pinch.
Okay, so Proudfoot, is still our leader out there. Has not been able to be overtaken by anybody at any point in this race, but it's essentially a battle for best of the rest. Many cars have looked like they've had the speed to try and attempt to take that one away, but it has mainly been between Northcutt and Spees who have held that front row position.
They have indeed, that battle being very, very fierce, but you saw on that last time Morton running that super high line that we thought some people may be running, doing a really good job there, as well as J.R. Shepard and Chris Davis getting into the mix. So if this happens again, it'll be very interesting to see if that battle is going to develop for second into, frankly, a 5-way battle.
Okay. We should be double file and ready to go next time by. Once again, someone needs to get onto that pace truck comm and tell them to slow it down on the way out of the pits so that they can catch up a little nicer as they come around through 1 and 2. And now we see the pace truck disappear. What does Proudfoot have as we ride on board with Spees? See if he's taking notes. Green flag is out. I think he is. That was a very good start from Spees. And in fact, almost 3 wide for the lead coming through, but coming together door to door. Spees finds himself shoving the side of Northcutt up the hill.
And that forced a big checkup for Justin Morton, again carrying a lot of momentum. And there you see that momentum coming to play. Justin Morton into the battle for third. With that one move, he is really going to start to challenge Steven Spees here as they go down the back straight, and he's got Spees.
As the drivers continue to cycle around, we are nearly to the final quarter of this race. Northcutt going to try the low line now. Looks like things are evolving as we get another caution, and it is that low line that seems to have caused it with the 45. Jason Menda actually having to take a tow. And it looks like it didn't start with him. You're going to see a couple of cars in front of him come around in turn 1. I believe Jason Best is the first one. There they are, right there.
Everybody just getting together. That's a little bit of an aggressive but fair move, just trying to cut down on the inside line here. You can see this is Best going to come up behind there. You see a little bit too much momentum carried through the car. Joe, I'm going to be honest, I'm not entirely sure why Jason Menda chose to take a tow there. I don't think that would have damaged the car beyond belief.
I'm not sure either. Maybe he just doesn't feel comfortable trying to race around here today. Snyder also had to come into pits for some repairs, and it looks like he's even exited and has disconnected, so he is a for sure DNF. Will we lose any more after this? It's only been Menda and Snyder. Green flag is out, and they fan all the way out across the track through turns 1 and 2. Oh, but a big check up from the inside as Morton can't get the power down, and another bump. Unfortunately, that catches out Billy Northcutt. He loses multiple positions and falls to 7th because of that.
And Steven Spees back on the high side, just powering it around. He has really got the run here over Justin Morton for second. Morton trying to fight back with J.R. Shepard there, now trying to make a move on Justin Morton down the main straightaway.
Looking for a podium. Can he manage to sneak it away? Justin Morton to his inside as we ride on board with Shepard. We're going to be 6 to go at the line. The cautions have kept it close amongst many of our racers. That's going to keep it close again as we get another caution. Trying to figure out who caused this one. Might have been Hazlip. No, not Hazlip. It was Best. It's the 47 yet again.
Jason in the center of your screen gets a little friendly with that outside wall. Joe, that's that place I was talking about on the entrance of 3. That can send you up if you're not careful.
Wow, they did an impressive trick there to get the car completely roll over and then get back on its wheels. That's going to be a little bit more damaged, mind you, but should be able to continue at the very least. That sends them to the back of our drivers who are still running. And we should get one last chance at a restart right here. No more after this, though. Will be 2 to go as they come to the line. There goes the pace truck. Proudfoot just has to keep it clean. Once again, cutting extremely low and actually went over the bump. Is this going to cost him a victory? He is incredibly slow, and up at the high side, Steven Spees spies a chance to try and take this one away at the last moment, even though he hasn't had speed up against him the whole race long. White flag is out. He had a better run, and he crossed the line before him there, I'm pretty sure. So he could snatch this away. What can Proudfoot do to keep him from stealing the win at the very last moments off the line? It's going to be Spees who takes the win from Proudfoot. Morton will get 3rd and J.R. Shepard 4th.
Oh my goodness gracious, Joe.
What an upset. What an absolute upset. Let's take a look at the replay. We might actually want to get the replay of the start itself if we can. I mentioned that bump thinking surely that's not going to be much of an issue. That'll be a complete outlier, and it decided the race effectively.
It really did. It just absolutely caught out Brandon Proudfoot. We're going to go back here for the restart and check this out.
This is from onboard Brandon. You're going to see him hit the bump here on the inside. Pace truck will peel off. He'll cut extremely low and can't get traction with wheels in the air. Man, that is one that he is not going to forget, and probably a mistake he'll never see the 22 make again. As we watch them try to come to the finish. This is the white flag lap now. Watch from above. Spees just perfectly grasping the moment. A lesser driver may not have kept it up and may have missed the chance to try and beat him, but he keeps the speed up. As he crosses the line, victory goes to Steven Spees. That's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So stick around. Welcome back to Fairbury Speedway. A surprise victory here in the Bootleg Racing League Dirt Street Stock Series. And it was Steven Spies who won over Brandon Proudfoot. He probably only led 2 or 3 laps this whole feature race. Proudfoot making a mistake at the very end, has to settle for that P2 with Justin Morton behind him in third, and J.R. Shepard still not gaining points on Brandon, unfortunately. He'll finish 4th today. Chris Davis was 5th with Bobby Hayes finishing in the 6th position. Then it's Austin Belkey climbing up to 7th, and Joe Segala finishing 8th. Billy Northcutt with 9th, and Brendan Myers winding up 10th.
Todd Liston was able to bring Kagar home in 11th, followed by Robbie Robinson and Jason Best. Ryan Seneker came home 14th, followed by Gary Clinton and Chris Hazlip. John Wilson was the last of your finishers on the lead lap. Todd Hetherington was 2 laps down, and Ron Snyder and Jason Menda disconnecting due to damage.
We've got our winner ready to talk to us, Steven Spies in the number 55 with an impressive win here today. Steven, congratulations. The opportunities to beat Brandon don't come often, but it looks like you grabbed it with both hands. See if we can get the mic to work here for Steven, as we've got a couple troubles here just for a brief moment. And looks like you got it now. Now we got you, Steven.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm not sure what happened. No, I was just starting to say, you're right. It doesn't come often where you get a chance to beat Brandon. And watching the replay back there while I was waiting in the booth, it looks like, and it felt like it on track. I thought I kind of fell asleep on that very last restart, but it looks like Brandon started going really early, and then he maybe realized it and checked up, and that's the difference right there. Not that I necessarily was faster or past him, but he kind of checked up to let the field get back up because he was way out there. But hey, man, a win's a win.
Interesting that's your assessment. We thought it was because he hit the bump on the inside, but we'll at least get to hear his view in a little bit. In the meantime, you started this one from 4th, and there was a kind of a plague of yellows throughout much of the race. Hard to get some passing done. What did you find worked best? Because we saw drivers going every different which line.
Yeah, I really just wanted to be on top. I don't tend to be real fast on the super slick tracks. My throttle control is not quite where Brandon's is. So I really wanted to be on top, but through that early and mid series, I kept ending up 3rd on the restarts and being down on that inside, and I just didn't want to be there. So finally, I just slowed up a little bit and found a hole and dropped into 4th, figuring as many cautions as we were having, we'd get another one, and we certainly did. And once I got into 4th, I was able to get up there and ride that top, and not sure what exactly happened, but was able to get around Justin and Billy, and it was all good from there for me. I just wanted to be in an even number so I could start on the outside.
Well, you managed to at least get a win, at least one win this season. Do you see any more in the future? Any of the upcoming tracks look like favorites of yours?
Honestly, I have no idea what the schedule is. I just show up and race. But, I think that I've had the speed a couple of times to get up there with Brandon. We all know he's really good. He's a pro-level late model driver on iRacing. So, but I feel like I've had the speed. I just haven't done as well as I need to in qualifying to get the positions I need to be up there with him. And I've had to fight through traffic a bit. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we'll watch out for you. And again, congratulations on a win today.
Appreciate it. So I just want to say a quick thanks. Shout out to my team, Gambler Motorsports, and to Epsilon Sprint Wraps for putting the beautiful wrap on this car.
Well, thank you very much for the great interview. That was our winner, Steven Spies. And up next, DJ has caught up with Brandon Proudfoot. I'm very curious to hear what he thinks was the issue.
Yeah, Brandon, we were just talking to Steven about it, and we were speculating in the booth. A little bit of trouble off the last restart cost you the win. Was it a checkup? We thought maybe you hit that bump coming out of 4. What happened there, my friend?
Yeah, throughout the restarts throughout the night, I've been trying to aim for that little bit of tack there in 3 and 4, and I was trying to aim for that, and I was waiting for a restart where somebody would finally not go all the way up to the wall, and Steven, having the racing smarts that he does, he knows how to get rid of that advantage on that inside line, and that's keeping close to that inside line guy and not necessarily shove him down to the bottom, but try to keep you guys in the center of the track, and he executed perfectly on that restart. Because I didn't have that tack point, I tried to pop the clutch and try to get that cut down to the straightaway. But I hit that bump on the inside, and it jerked the wheel to the right, and I had to check up because I didn't want to get into Steven, and then I decided to run the low line. The grip just wasn't there.
Gotcha. Well, that sort of segues me to my next question, which is we are seeing guys running pretty much every line imaginable out there, including yourself. You were running high, you were running low. Was it just a matter of trying to read the track, or was it just something that where nothing ever really felt right?
Personally, for me, there was only one spot for me to go the whole night, and that was high 1 and 2, and then that, which I don't know if anybody else tried doing it there towards the end, but that's kind of slider line in 3 and 4. That's what I used throughout the night, and I was getting my speed through there. But I'm not sure what the pace was behind me because I was really focused on my line. But 1 and 2, definitely high. 3 and 4, low to slider for me is what worked.
Gotcha. Well, next week we head to the newest track on the service, Cedar Lake. How familiar are you with it? And you think you can return to the top step of the podium?
I like the track. It's definitely unique. Turn 4 is quite a bugger. It'll catch a lot of people out. It sucks you in, kind of like how 3 and 4 does at the Grove. But I think I'll definitely get a podium. But my good friend, which you guys know very well, Bobby Rafferty, I have a feeling he'll be back again next week because that's one of his favorite places. And I think there's going to be a pretty tough fight for next week to get a win.
Well, I think I can speak for all of us up here in the booth that we are very excited to see it. Brandon, congratulations again on second and in a heck of a race across the board. Anybody you'd like to thank on your way out?
Yeah, all the sponsors. I'll just keep it short and sweet this week. I'm sweating to death. All the sponsors on the car, Fistful Bourbon, General Tire, all the other sponsors that are on there, Family Downstairs, you guys doing the broadcast, and Lowell and all the guys putting it on for this week. And yeah, we'll see what happens at Cedar Lake. See you guys next week.
We will see you then. And last but not least, Joe Peak has caught up with our third place finisher, Justin Morton.
Indeed. And Justin, again, started from third in his heat race and wound up winning it with a little bit of chaos helping him out. Justin, those many extra starting positions you gained from that, do you think that was a big key in you managing to finish on the podium tonight?
Yeah, that heat was pretty huge. Starting at the front of the pack when a track is this slick is such a huge advantage. So I was extremely happy to get those 2 spots.
You were also in the thick of it in that fight for second for many laps. You, Spies, and I think Davis was in there a lot along with Shepard. I mean, tell us a little bit about some of the 3 and at times 4 wide racing that you were experiencing.
Yeah, that was a pretty brutal dogfight there. I remember, I think it was off the initial start, me, Steven, and Billy were all 3 wide for like 2 straight laps. So we all gave room. We were all pretty clean with each other. It was great fun racing with them.
So you've got some momentum going your way now. Cedar Lake next week. That's one of the newer tracks here on the service. How you feel about that coming up?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. It's a lot like this track, which I think favors me. I like these type of tracks. The cushion's really nice there, so should make for some good racing.
All right. Well, best of luck managing another podium, maybe even a sneaky win, and congratulations on a third.
Thank you.
That was Justin Morton, top 3 here today, but it's going to wrap up our interviews for tonight. So we, of course, want to thank the Bootleg Racing League for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Also, we need to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that we've listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. We've got her link to Bandcamp there listed on your screen if you'd like to hear more of her work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We also have social media outlets, which include Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. The link is in the description below. And don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page, and while you're there, hit that big red subscribe button so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As we mentioned, up to Wisconsin for Cedar Lake. That'll be Friday, February 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. And in just a few minutes, we've got 4 Drink Friday returning again. That'll be the Rallycross cars at Zolder. That kicks off at 9:45 p.m. Eastern. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.